scheduled to reopen November the 4th of 2022.
Recording.
Shut it down again.
I don't know what's it telling you now.
Be live streamed. I think this
Yeah,
meeting.
so you got
Consent
that.
to be live streamed.
If you got it, if you understand what it says.
Hey folks, how are you tonight? Hey Helen, hey Esther,
Hello.
how are you?
I'm good.
Hello,
Going.
you have to unmute.
I'm not up there.
If you
Hi
press-
Karen, hi Joe.
You can't wait. 'Cause you're-
Hey. Sure. So, hi Helen, how are you today?
Hey Zach, hi. It's Joe and Karen.
Hey folks. Did anybody go check out the Skyway yet?
Yes, I was actually there. John and I were there last night. We had dinner at the Old English, and then we walked the Skyway. Central Warehouse is not really a view I'd recommend to others. But it's nice that it does connect with the Corning Preserve. So I think it's lovely. It really is.
No, there's benches along the way.
There's benches, and then it actually feeds right into the trail at Corning Preserve.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
there aren't really benches along the way, but as you get close to Corning Preserve, there are benches. And it really it's really lovely.
Good. Hi Gloria, hi Dan.
Hi, Zach. How are you?
Good, how are you doing?
Fine, thank you.
Good to see you, Dan.
Ah,
Gloria,
oh,
is that,
hi, Zach.
Hi, Kate.
Good to
Gloria,
see
do I owe you a call?
I'm not sure.
As long as you're not waiting, maybe.
Maybe.
you. Got Luke. Hey, Luke. Good to see you.
Hey, everybody.
Happy birthday, Zach.
Oh, happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Wow.
That's exciting.
Not yet.
Oh,
Almost.
when is it?
2 days.
2 days, yeah.
Okay. No. Happy pre-almost birthday.
Thank you. And I treated myself. I took the day off from work. I've never done that, not in recent time. So
Oh, that's nice. I hope, that's a nice way to do it. I tried to do that for many years. I wasn't always able to in the last 10 years. I couldn't. Too many responsibilities, but the days I could, I did, and it was fun. It was a nice day to just treat yourself.
yeah, I was thinking about it this year, and I was like, you know what? That's my best treat is just to take a day off from work, enjoy.
Yeah. It is. It really is.
We got us. We got Ann Savage. Hi, Ann. Good to see you.
Hey Zach, how you doing?
Good to see you. Got
Hey
Jason.
everybody.
Good to see you. Okay. Gonna try to start on time tonight. We got a busy schedule, so
Okay.
keep things moving along, right? We got Officer Sal. Good to see you, sir.
Hello.
Okay. Hi, John. Welcome to the meeting.
Hello, how are you?
Good. Are you with a neighborhood association or a group?
Beg your pardon?
Are you with the neighborhood association or a group?
No, I'm actually now working with the school district, helping out.
Oh, great. Well, welcome to the meeting, sir.
Thank you.
John is our interim deputy superintendent for business affairs. So we are very happy to have him with us.
That's a long title.
I left the word out too to try and shorten it and make it simpler.
That is a few syllables. Hi, Holly. See ya. Just gonna give it another minute. Hi, Maura. Good to see you.
Hello. How's everybody?
Good.
I want to check in with you, Zach, at some point. We were talking about with some people about grants for tree planting in neighborhoods. We don't need to talk about it now, but I'm just putting it on your screen as a question I want to ask you later.
Grants for what was it, Maura?
Tree planting.
Oh, okay. We can. Is it something that you know something about?
Well, I was doing a Radix the other day, did a tree planting, and I was talking with someone who was on Fairlawn, and she was saying they were on Fairlawn Street. They were talking about getting neighbors together to plant more trees.
Okay.
And so we were thinking, we were wondering, are there grants that we could write for that, or that kind of thing?
Okay. It's we could talk about it during the new business if you'd like.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay. All right, folks, I'm gonna go ahead and get this meeting started. Folks, if you can just mute yourselves if you're not talking, I'd appreciate it, please. Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the May 4th meeting of the Council of Albany Neighborhood Associations. I'm Zach Simpson, the CANA chair. Thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight. All right, I do have a couple of things to mention. I'm going to save them till later in the meeting. I just want to go ahead and first start out the meeting with the Albany Police Department, public safety update. So we have Officer Sal on.
There's Mary. Yeah.
Hi, good evening. I don't know if Officer Webster is on yet. I believe he was supposed to talk this evening. Is he here yet or no?
I'm not seeing him yet. Oh, hold on a second. Let me just check the waiting room. 1 second here. Johnson. I'm not seeing him. There's Officer Harrigan. We can always come back if Officer Webster comes up. You want to do that?
I know he had a ton of information. He had more information on tonight's meeting, so I'll get in touch with him.
Yeah, if he wants to come on, we can go back to him. Okay, so
Okay.
let's switch it up here. So first, I want to just turn things over to Lieutenant Josiah Jones. He is the president of the the Police Supervisors Union. He just wanted a few minutes to present to CANA about local law C. So Lieutenant Jones, thanks for joining us. Whenever you're ready, sir.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate the time. I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you guys. I don't know if you guys have read local law C, but I just want to go through part of a kind of a prepared statement, and then I'm very happy to answer any additional questions. I just want to make sure I cover it all and don't waste anyone's time. The local law C, we believe, while undoubtedly well intended, we believe this legislation will achieve the exact opposite of the intended purpose that they state of affording citizens a greater voice in public safety. Currently, our public safety leaders are currently accountable to the mayor, common council, media, and the public. By contrast, this proposal envisions removing control over these critical decisions from elected officials and placing them in the hands of a commission composed exclusively of individuals appointed for a term of 3 years with no clear measures of transparency, oversight, or mechanisms for removal, or really even requisite skill or experience. And they would essentially unilaterally determine what's best for public safety in Albany. The only disqualifier is that they can't be a police officer, former police officer, or a relative of a police officer. And we also want to make sure everybody knows that unlike it has, despite what has been stated by members of the council, this is not merely a study in public safety, as we've heard so many times. This would do things that would be very hard to retract, basically creating 2 new, potentially massive departments. So essentially this creates 3 bodies: a commissioner of public safety, which the mayor has already envisioned and kind of has the wheels turning on that. I'm not sure where she is, but I think she's interviewing. And then it would also create below that a public safety commission. That public safety commission would be comprised of 9, again, appointed members, not elected, 5 by the common council and 4 by the mayor. They would then have, well, and then below them would be both the Albany Police Department and another new department, Department of Public Safety. Now, by the first question that comes to our mind is, how much is this going to cost? Just by the bill's own language, which is relatively vague, they envision deputies, directors, subordinates, administrative staff, and then you certainly have to contemplate facilities, vehicles, fuel, electronics, IT support. I mean, the list goes on and on. And again, this is a 24/7 department, again, with no clear indication of what the requisites would be for it, how they would lead, and what their accountability would be. And just intuitively, I believe they would have much less accountability than the current structure. And we proudly say that we're not sure that what this is attempting to accomplish. President Obama just a few years ago named us one of the top 20, the top 20 premier 21st century policing agencies in the entire nation. I went through a list, and I'm sure Sal and Officer Webster could provide you with a lot of these, but I came up with 57 different positions, programs, and active units in which we currently partner with internal and external partners and engage the community. And we don't think that we don't have room for improvement. There's always room for improvement with policing outcomes and everything else. But the initial intent that's purported by this bill to just have us work with non-traditional partners is really not what's being created here. They're envisioning, by their own words, deputizing neighborhood peacekeepers, or people who are just good mediating in the neighborhood. And that would be who would show up at your door when you call because you just got robbed or burglarized or whatever. And again, we're not even sure, it's kind of vague. We're not sure how they would have any police powers or how things would be formally investigated or theoretically prosecuted. But I do want to say very confidently that I believe a large portion of our membership, if not all of it, would certainly support expanding our partnerships with social working, healthcare, and mental health professionals. There's certainly room for that, but that's not at all what this bill has created. And we just don't think it's fixable. We were never given a seat at the table, nor was the mayor, and nor was the city comptroller, which again, going to the expense and that this would have on an annual basis on the Albany Police Department, on the city of Albany, substantial, certainly in the millions, if not higher. We assert is irresponsible. So with that all in mind, I'm happy to answer any additional questions that anyone might have with respect to this bill. I know not everyone may have read it, and I think it's currently in committee right now, trying to figure out which direction they want to go with it.
Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, Lieutenant Jones, you're saying that you're talking about the expense, you're talking about problems with the implementation of it. What exactly do you object to in this? What if this is carried out and it is established? What is it that you think is going to impact the police department negatively?
Well, I mean, just speaking from a strictly police perspective, I feel like, our concerns might be intuitive to people, especially when you look at the language of the bill. It tells us that we're supposed to use the least amount of force necessary, something that is much stricter and frankly impossible to determine in present. It's something that's would be retroactively determined with 2020 hindsight. The current standard issued by the Supreme Court is what's reasonable and necessary under the circumstances, with that very thought in mind. They're very nebulous to how they would treat our current collective bargaining process or disciplinary process. We have concerns about completely inexperienced people with just the unknown of who would come in and potentially rewrite our entire SOP and protocol and how that would affect the citizens. It basically terms us as violent responders by default because everyone else is a non-violent responder in the language of the bill. I mean, but those are all our selfish concerns. I am legitimately, personally, and I'm sure many other people are concerned about how this would affect public safety in Albany irrevocably, because this is creating large departments and ceding a large amount of power that with no mechanism for removal either of the people that are appointed or the organizations themselves. In fact, this would be the only department that the mayor would no longer have control over who heads it up. And the potential, even likely deleterious effects that would have on public safety in Albany.
Well, if these things that you're talking about, the lack of a way of removing people and things like that, if these things were taken care of, would you still object to the panel in general?
Yeah,
Would
I mean,
I think want to see it.
Yeah, I think we have problems with it from really beginning to end. I just wish that we were brought in and had a seat at the table. I mean, the mayor as well, the comptroller as well. I mean, the Reform and Reinvention Collaboration Committees, one of their main tenets was creating partnerships with the city and Albany Police Department to move forward. And this entire bill was created in a vacuum with no subject matter experts.
Right. Well, that's perfectly understandable. You definitely have input into it. But I'm just wondering, do you object to having the thing itself, or is it just the way that it's being structured right now?
So I can't read the minds of what was intended by this, but optimistically, I'd like to think that this was intended to create a wider spectrum of public safety services in Albany by creating partnerships with police in the areas of social working, mental health and homelessness. But that's not what was, there's nothing in the language beyond that general vibe in the beginning to really indicate the specificities of that. They could go anywhere with this. And it's clear they have no plan for how things would be executed or who would be executing them. And I think that's really, that amount of uncertainty is scary for anyone, I would think.
All right, thank you.
And, okay, so any other questions?
Can I just ask a quick, from a minute taking standpoint? Officer Jones, I know, I think you said you had a prepared statement. I don't know whether you felt comfortable sharing that with me to include in the minutes or not. If so, just let me know.
Absolutely, no problem.
Okay.
Just let me know where to send it.
I'm going to drop my email. Can I just drop my email in the chat, Zach?
Sure, sure.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay. Okay, well, thank you very much, Lieutenant Jones. Appreciate you presenting on this.
Thanks for your time.
I did see Officer Webster come on.
I'm here.
How are you, sir? Let's go.
Sorry, I was late.
That's all right. Let's go over to you for the Albany Police Department update. Thank you.
Absolutely. Okay. Just go through some statistics with you guys real quick. I know I'm sure you have a full tablet. So we've talked about the last couple months, our motor vehicle theft being up 72% this year, and that is staying at 72% at this point. So we have had 143 vehicles stolen at this point this year, and that's compared to 83 last year. So it is a pretty big rise for the reasons that we discussed. Our larcenies are also up, a lot of shoplifting in the city. So that's up 35% this year. All the other stats are about the same as they were from last year, except for, like I said, the stolen vehicles. Burglaries are going up. We're up 38% on burglary, and I think that probably has a lot to do with COVID. People are back to work, and most burglaries happen during the day when people are at work. So I think that's starting to pick up because of that. Getting back to probably some of the numbers we had pre-pandemic. The other stat that I think is important to add is we've had 42 gun arrests this year and 56 guns recovered. So that's up 87% from this time last year on the guns recovered. Last couple of weeks, we've had several drug turn-in buybacks, and they've been very successful. So something on a good note. But other than that, I won't keep anybody. If they have any questions, I'd be happy to take them.
Any questions, folks? All right, guess you're off easy, Officer Webster.
Nice. People felt bad. I was sorry. It was my kid's fault. That's all I'm blaming.
Blame it on the kids. Nice.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Officer Webster. We do have tonight from Superintendent Kawita Adams with the Albany City School District. Thank you very much. Good seeing you. And we have Ann Savage, the school board president, also on. So whenever you're ready, thanks again for coming back. It's been a quick year, huh?
It has definitely been a year. It's been very, very fast. So thank you all so very much for having us here tonight. I also want to introduce John Yagowski, who is our interim business and finance official, so our deputy superintendent over business and finance, and also Mr. Ron Lesko, who is here with us, and he'll be driving our slides this evening. And so we'll start just with our information. If you have questions, please feel free to go to our website, and it is albanyschools.org/feedback. That's where we can take any questions that you might have, especially after this presentation that you may think of a little bit later. Please feel free to put them in our feedback loop. And then also, if you want to review this presentation, or if you have any questions that you might think that we've already answered, you can look at albanyschools.org/budget. We always start with our guiding principles because we look to make sure that we have the engaging learning experiences so that we can provide equitable opportunities for all of our students. and working with our mission. And you are definitely a part of that mission because you're part of our community and you help us work together with that robust educational program so that we can provide the knowledge and skills necessary for success. Hearing your comments and your feedback, you have always been so very, very supportive, as well as providing those questions that challenge us so that we can go back and look at better ways of doing things. And all of these things help us to meet our goals, and our 5 goals are listed there. Tonight in our presentation, our discussion topics, we'll talk a little bit about the budget development and the planning goals. We'll look at our budget proposal, the one-time federal funds. Even though they're not a part of the budget, we'd like for you to see how those federal funds that were one-time dollars impact us. And then we'll look at what happens if the budget is not approved, as well as we'll look at propositions 2 and 3, information for our voters, and then any questions. And so this presentation is a shared presentation. And so President Savage and I will be doing a tag team approach on various slides. So our 22-23 budget proposal, the goals that we set out with regard to this proposal is to make sure that we are supporting the student academics. And as you've heard so much about, the social and emotional needs of our students as we continue to rebuild during this worldwide pandemic. Also, to strategically plan in a fiscally responsible manner, because as you know, many of the things that we are seeing, yes, we have the one-time funds, but how do we build in for financial stability to move forward once those funds are gone? And then to minimize the tax impact on the Albany residents. So what does the budget support? Our budget supports full-day pre-K in 12 of our elementary schools. We have our magnet programs and a dual language program. We've seen a lot of success with our community schools model. And so we look to maintain that support in the schools that are listed there. Also, we know that it is not just about academics. We want to have a well-rounded student. So we look at band, chorus, and orchestra starting in the 3rd grade. If you remember a while back, we did have to have some layoffs at that particular time. That was back in 2020. And we were able to support bringing back music into the curriculum in a very intentional manner. And so we have that in the 3rd grade. We also continue to support the Marching Falcons and our Color Guard and Winter Guard and our indoor percussion ensemble. We have 63 athletic teams, as well as an intramural program for grades 7 through 12. We also support advanced academics with regard to our advanced placement classes, our international baccalaureate program. We have university in the high school where students can earn high school credit upon completing these courses, so that when they graduate from high school, they have course credit that counts toward college. And then we have our CTE pathway, our AVID College and Career Readiness Program, our theater ensemble. We know that we are a welcoming city. We have a large population with regard to our immigrant students and our refugee students. So our budget supports a very robust Albany International Center, as well as our alternative education program, Tony Clement Center for Education. The social and emotional supports, where we have seen an increase in providing support for our students with regard to behavioral specialists, school psychologists, social workers, counselors, etc. Also looking at our instructional intervention positions in order to accelerate learning and close some of those academic gaps. We have math interventionists, reading coaches, ELA interventionists along the way. Also looking at culturally relevant teaching and learning practices, and then the restorative practices when it comes to discipline and behavioral matters. We've also had some new investments. These new investments include additional 6th grade staffing, also 6 additional CDA tripper buses to serve the new middle school feeder pattern. We have our English language learner teachers that have a special certification with regard to our ENL students. And so we look at that in increasing those numbers of teachers. Over at O'Neill, this is where our Albany International Center and Dual Language Program would be. This is something that I know President Savage will cover in her portion, but there was no real green space at that school as we look to expand the International Center and also grow the Dual Language Program. So there's a playground construction piece, which is a separate ballot proposal. It is Proposition 3. The other proposed budget items would be security, staff, and equipment so that we can make sure that we have enough hall monitors, homeschool coordinators in position so that they can assist with our students. Custodial workers, we need additional custodial workers due to the increased square footage as well as snow removal and school deliveries. The increased sports supervision as we look to grow our programs back to our regular competition levels. We will need more staffing for that, as well as our HVAC preventative maintenance program. Over the past few years, we have been very reactionary with regard to things that happen with regard to our HVAC systems for ventilation and air filtration. And we started last year looking at a program for preventative maintenance. And so we are pleased that we have this program in place. And so our budget is going to help support that even more so. And then the service contract for our 5 pools within the district, our 5 swimming pools. When you look at our staffing ratios, I think it's important to note that where we are, that last column that shows where we are projected to be for next year with regard to staffing, even though we are at 7,832 students projected, our staffing allocations put us right in the middle of the 2016-17 and the 2017-18 school years. And despite the fact that we are 1,000 students less right now, what we're seeing is that the support that's needed for our students, we're going to have slightly lower ratios right now so that we can close those gaps. But as we move forward, we will look at absorbing some of those positions through attrition of vacancies and retirements. At this time, I'll turn it over to President Savage to talk about our expenditures and revenues.
So I want to emphasize a little bit more what the superintendent just said about the extreme need that our students are experiencing right now. You're hearing about it in the paper all the time, both here in Albany and in local districts and across the country. The students really are challenged, as we all are, after this really tumultuous and difficult period that we've just been through and are continuing to go through. And so we are pleased to be able to support, and I'm going to talk to you now about how we're able to afford to support that increased, better staff to student ratio than we've ever had before. It is really much needed, and there are appropriate federal and state funds available to support us in that effort. So as you can see on this proposed expenditure slide, the bulk of the budget falls in this category, which is the program, including transportation. That's essentially teachers, TAs, everything that you can think of that has to do with direct instruction, including getting the students to and from school. And the other categories are much, much smaller: administration, maintenance and operations, capital and debt, which is exactly what it sounds like. That's the debt service payments. And then, of course, the charter school tuition. We in the district have very clearly stated and really believe that every family has to make the best choice they can, whether that is a charter school for their student or a private school or one of our schools or homeschooling. Every parent has to make the decision they feel best. But the way that charter schools are funded in New York State really has a very, very direct impact on us. Almost $40 million of our budget goes directly to charter schools. And that does make us thinner than we would be in order to continue to educate the 80% of students who continue to be in our schools. So that it continues to be something that impacts our ability to budget effectively, not only because of the large amount, but because of the unpredictability from year to year. Many of you know Brenda Robinson, who we all love and has done a wonderful job through the Black Nurses Coalition. She's also involved in a charter school that expects to open not this coming year, but the following year for nursing, which is an exciting opportunity for our students, but it also is expected to have a fairly significant impact on our 23-24 budget. So this is how this is what we're paying for. And now if we can move to the next slide, I'm going to show you how we're going to pay for it. This breaks down our budget into the key categories, and you'll notice that one of them is markedly different than the rest, and that is the state category, which shows an increase of $15 million. That's because New York State has finally begun to commit to what we like to say, fulfilling the promise of foundation aid. There's essentially a formula that's run every year that's supposed to determine how much money each school district gets. And that's based on the needs of the students, how many students there are, and how many challenges that school district faces in terms of the additional services they need to provide. For many, many years, they ran that formula, but then they just gave us less money than they said it would need. So this year alone, we get $26 million less than the formula says we should. And that's always been the case ever since the formula went in. Over the next 2 years, this year they started, next year continuing, and then in 23-24, they hope to bring that foundation aid gap, that is the difference between what the formula says we should get and what we actually get, to zero. And that is going to make a huge difference on our ability to predict and sustain our budget. That's why there's that very large, almost $16 million increase. The other increases are much more modest. There is a $1 million property tax increase. That's about 0.9%. So if we can get to the next slide, I'll talk a little bit more about that and how that impacts us. This board, and you guys know me, you know I've been on this board for quite some time now. We have been committed to trying to hold the line on property taxes. And so for the last 9 years, we have not increased property taxes more than 2%. And the vast majority of those property tax increases have been less than 1% or in fact zero. So we've really been doing our very best to keep property taxes at property tax increases as low as humanly possible. While we're doing that, we're also thinking very, very hard about our long-term fiscal stability. One of the things other things that the superintendent will talk about more is these federal funds. I know you hear from time to time, and I know the city has talked quite a bit about the ARP funds, the federal funds that are for COVID relief. Those funds have been absolutely instrumental, and that's why we're able to provide that very good staff to student ratio. That's what those funds were for, and that's how we're using them. But they are not unlimited. The needs of our students will continue in time beyond the availability of those funds. And so we looked very hard over the last couple of years at multiple year fiscal scenarios, just like you would when you're planning your own household budget. You try and look at what's going to happen over the next couple of years. We've been doing the same thing. I also want to mention a couple of other rising costs. We are facing, like everyone, rising costs in healthcare every single year. And also this year, a substantial increase in utility payments. The increase in utility payments for next year for the school district will be about $1 million. It's really a stunning amount. So that all goes to the property taxes. If we can go to the next slide. What does this all mean to you? I say it's a 0.9% property tax increase. It's $1 million. What does it really mean when it comes down to brass tacks? For a house that has basic star that's assessed at $150,000, so sort of an average house, the estimated change to your taxes would be $50 per year. That's $50 total over the course of the entire year. If you don't have star, or if you have enhanced star, it would be about $30. On top of that, there's a new rebate this year. Do you guys remember for a while there, we used to get these random checks from the governor's office that had something to do with school taxes? That was your state rebate check. They have brought back a new related concept of a residential homeowner's tax rebate. That will be a percentage of your existing star benefit. We don't know yet how much that will mean for each of us, but it will be indexed to inflation for basics and inflation indexed to your income for regular star folks, for basic star up to $250,000. So if you have regular star and you earn less than $250,000, you will get a rebate. I just can't tell you exactly how much. Or if you have enhanced star at any income, you will get a rebate. Again, I just don't know how much quite yet. That will be coming out of the state. Moving forward, I'm going to turn it back to Superintendent to continue the conversation about federal money.
Thank you. And I need to make sure that we acknowledge that Dr. Wilson Turner, our Assistant Superintendent for Elementary Instruction, is on the line. And if there are questions specifically about, some of the math interventionists, et cetera, and the roles that they are playing, then we can always direct those questions to her at the appropriate time. But when we look at the one-time federal dollars for the COVID funds, this is separate from our budget proposal. However, understanding how this impacts our budget is critical. So we have from the Sarissa dollars, that first bullet there, we have about $1.3 million in 22-23. And this is the last year that these funds are available. And we already have criteria that we have to meet that aligns those dollars. So these are not just dollars that we can apply anywhere that we would like to. There's a list of criteria that we have to align with in order to spend those dollars. The same thing for our ARP dollars. We have about $13 million left in our ARP dollars for the 22-23 school year. And this is the second year of this funding. This is no additional impact on taxes with the Sarissa or the ARP investments, but I think it's important to note that in positions that we hired, if you remember back in 2020, we had to do a number of layoffs. We brought those positions back. We've also absorbed 105 positions into the general fund for the 22-23 school year, thus taking those positions that we know are critical to our children's success that were paid for in the one-time dollars, now making them part of our foundation aid funding, which makes it part of our base so that we have that as part of our system. We have now incorporated those positions so that they are a part of our general fund and they are systemic so that we can maintain that support for our children. We have 93 positions that are being held in ARP funds for the 22-23 school year. And like I said before, one of the ways that we're looking to maximize those positions is we are looking at strategically what out of those 93 positions are we able to maintain and fold into our general fund. But also we know that we can't absorb 93 positions at the end of the ARP dollars. And so that's where it becomes very critical with the vacancies and retirements as we look at absorbing those positions. And so you may ask, how do you know that you might be able to absorb those positions or not hire, meaning dissolve the vacancies or retirements? Because usually we average between 50 to 75 vacancies and retirements within a year. And so looking at that trajectory, there are positions that we will be dissolving, but not people, because we will be looking at taking it from our vacancies and the retirement positions. There's some positions, absolutely, we are going to have to rehire, but we're taking a very close look at that. In addition, we have the social and emotional learning programs and supports that we are putting in place. We are enhancing our summer school options, not only to look at remediation, but also to look at one-time credit for the first time so that students who want to get ahead by going to summer school can absolutely do that and then accelerate their path toward graduation. We're also looking at our after school and extended day opportunities, which include intramurals at grades 3 through 5, and then other programs with our community partners that support that social emotional learning and growth of our students. President Savage?
So we always like to include this slide because people always want to know what happens if the school budget does not pass. If on May 17th, which is Tuesday, coming right up around the corner, people vote and we do not pass the school budget, the board will have to make a choice. And we can choose between three things. We can put the same budget up again and ask the voters to take another look at it. Or we can revise the budget. That usually means reduce it, eliminate something that we think is important for our students, and put it back up for consideration by the voters. Or we can do what's called adopting a contingency budget. So those are the choices that the board has. If we choose one of the first two options and we present the budget to the voters a second time, and again, it does not pass, then we must go to a contingency budget. The board has no further choices to make. And if we have to go to a contingency budget through either of those paths, either through putting it up again or through a direct contingency budget, we would have to take reductions of about $1.6 million. So that would mean we'd probably have to reduce some staffing. We definitely have to reduce some non-staff expenses. And this is the kicker that just is very difficult for communities. We haven't had a contingency budget in Albany in quite some time, but if there's a contingency budget, we are not allowed to allow community groups to use our buildings without charging them for every single penny that it costs us for the electricity, for the custodial, for whatever it is. So that's always a very unfortunate side effect of a contingency budget. In general, the budgets have been passing in Albany around 70% the last 3, 4, 5 years. So I'm optimistic that the budget will pass, but if it does not, this is the route we would be on. Also on the May 17th ballot, there are 2 additional propositions from the district and a 4th one from the library. So there will be 4 total things that you will be asked to vote on. The first one is the school budget. That's what we just talked about, all those expenses and that we just talked about that involves the tax increase of about 0.9%. Then there are 2 property tax free propositions. These have no impact on your taxes whatsoever. Proposition 2 is a capital project for $10 million. And I know you're thinking, how can they pay $10 million and not increase people's taxes? This is a special kind of capital project called an energy performance contract. We work with a company to figure out how much savings we will get by having more energy efficient equipment, lighting, HVAC, those kinds of things. And they guarantee us, because they're the ones doing the math, that if we invest the money, it will pay back for itself over a certain number of years. And they backstop that and they guarantee it. So there's never any impact to the taxpayers. That proposition is $10 million capital project. The third one is much smaller. This is an $1,800 proposition to buy 3 tiny little properties right near Edmund O'Neill School. These are, as the superintendent mentioned, we're going to use them for recreational space. 2 of them will house the playground. The actual construction for the playground is in Proposition 1, the overall budget, but buying these 2 tiny little properties to put the playground on, by state law, we have to put that up again to the voters directly. So that we have set the money aside to pay for. There's no additional taxes that would be required to buy these properties. But if we don't pass Proposition 3, we can't build the playground because there's no place to put it. Those properties are absolutely essential. The 4th proposition, which I mentioned, is the library, which I'll do this one in a second, but I want to get the 4th proposition. The library does have a tax increase this year of 2.5%. So that will be proposition number 4. Also, there are 2 seats open on the Board of Education, 2 seats up. Every year we have 2, unlike Common Council, where everybody goes up at the same time. The school board is staggered terms. And this year, Tabitha Wilson and Ellen Krejci are up for re-election. They are both running for re-election. No one else submitted petitions, so there will not be any other candidates. So it's an uncontested school board race. I mentioned the library's proposed budget. That is an increase of $7 million, 2.5%. They have 4 board seats open, and there are 10 candidates running for library board. So it was very popular to run for library board this year. That's going to be very interesting. It's the first time I can remember that there was such a heavily contested library board and no contest at all on the school board. Stephanie Simon at the library is your source for all information on that. I assume Zach's in touch with her and probably plans to have them come talk to you, if not tonight. And the calendar is quickly, we put this calendar up and we take things off. So it's getting shorter and shorter. We're with you here tonight. We have a formal budget hearing tomorrow night, which is right before our board meeting. That is really a pro forma budget hearing. You know, we listen to people's comments. Very rarely are comments made at that time. We will have 2 more virtual presentations on May 10th and May 14th that anybody in the community is welcome to log on to and ask us questions. And then vote day is, of course, Tuesday, May 17th. And the superintendent's going to talk to you a little bit more about the options you have for voting.
So we have in-person voting this year at 15 locations citywide. The polls will be open from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. And so if you need assistance finding your voting location, we have a searchable database at albanyschools.org/budget. And absentee voting, there are still options. The traditional absentee options are there, but the state also will allow concerns regarding potential exposure to COVID-19, so that could be a reason to request an absentee ballot. Again, albanyschools.org/budget. At this time, we will open the floor for questions, and I believe Vice President Vicki Smith is also on the call. And so you have a number of us here who could assist with answering any questions.
Good. Time for a couple questions. Anybody have questions?
I don't have a question, I have a comment. Can I make a comment? I just wanted to thank you for the incredible work that you guys are doing with the schools and with the kids. I'm a teacher, so I know it's really crucial. And I also know it's pretty exhausting. So I just wanted to say thank you to y'all.
Thank you so very much. We appreciate that. We really do. Thank you. And thank you as well.
And Dan's got his hand up. Dan?
Yeah, again, I'll add that. Thank you again for doing a great job. I just wonder, one quick question. The nurses charter school thing, is that a startup of some sort, or is that some outfit coming in and establishing themselves, or is this more Brighter Choice? What is it?
Not Brighter Choice. Oh, go ahead, Superintendent.
It is a startup. It's not Brighter Choice, but it is a separate startup.
Okay, so it's a brand new thing. It's not somebody not established. Okay, great. Thanks.
That is correct.
Just what I want to know.
I can ask you all while you're out and about, I know you people talk to many, many people, to remind everyone that the school budget vote is coming up and remind them to review the mailing that will come from the school district to make sure they know where to vote. Albany is a very unique community in that we offer so many places to vote. Most of our suburban counterparts, you have to go to the high school to vote. So it's very straightforward. You can't get confused. You go to the high school to vote for school, you go to your polling place to vote for other things. But in Albany, we try and make it easier on voters so that they won't have transportation challenges to get to the polls by offering many, many polling places. But we don't offer as many or the exact same ones as the political campaigns do for the primary and the general. So people are often confused, and it's getting increasingly confusing with the June primary, and maybe now there's going to be an August primary, and the primary used to be in September. So everyone is going to be extremely confused. And we just now, the Board of Elections sent out a white card. I wish I could find mine on my messy desk. I would hold it up. But the Board of Elections just sent a white card out with a polling place. That's your primary polling place. That's not your school polling place, even though your school polling place is going to be needed first. So you will get a big, beautiful mailer from the school district that tells you all the stuff we just told you and more. And on that, it will say where you vote. Please check that or go to albanyschools.org/budget to find out where you vote. And try and communicate that to the many, many people you interact with, because people always are frustrated when they go to the wrong polling place. And we try really hard to communicate, but it's a major challenge, and this year is going to be worse than ever. So thank you for listening to my soapbox spiel on polling places.
No, thank you very much. Any other questions, folks? Okay. Well, thank you very much, Superintendent Adams and President Savage, everybody else. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Good night. Thanks so much.
All right. Let's see. Up next, we have the Albany representatives from the Albany Public Library here. We have Melanie Metzger, the interim director, and Mary Kuhn. Hi, how are you?
Hi, I'm well. Thank you. How are you?
Thanks. Great. Mary, whenever you're ready, go right ahead. Thanks for coming.
Okay. And I'm going to be sharing my screen. Before I start, I would just like to say On behalf of the staff of Albany Public Library, thank you so much for having us here. I am joined by my colleagues and fellow heads of branches. I'm Mary Kuhn, head of Central Branches, which are the Washington Avenue location and the Arbor Hill West Hill location. Rebecca Lubin, our head of East Branches, which is Delaware Howe and soon to be North Albany. And Deanna DiCarlo, our head of West Branches, who is Pine Hills and Bach. Melanie Metzger, our interim director / assistant director, would generally be here to do this presentation to you. She has a meeting conflict. Unfortunately, she couldn't be here. I can tell you from the messages that she's been sending me, she's been trying to get here, but it doesn't look like it's happened. So she has entrusted me with this presentation to you. And now if I can share my screen here. Whoops, wrong screen, my apologies. Everyone seeing our community report? Thank you very much. So as mentioned, I'm Mary Kuhn, head of Central Branches, and we take this opportunity every year to speak to the neighborhood associations, to talk about what we've done in the past year and to talk about what we have upcoming in the future. It is our way of reporting out and being fiscally responsible, so you're all aware of what we are doing, how we are spending your tax dollars. We have spent the past couple of years, as you know, and as you have all dealt with, operating in a pandemic. And we took as our own personal work theme for this, don't waste a crisis. We tried to look at as many behind the scenes processes and workflows to improve service to our patrons. While we did have occasion to change services to keep both staff and patrons safe, we worked very, very hard to provide alternatives. We built robust live programs on both Zoom and YouTube. We also presented recorded programs. We managed to do one-on-one assistance for patrons with social service needs, including connecting folks to rental information, to unemployment information, health and food assistance. And we dramatically increased our budget for e-materials for both books, DVDs, audiobooks, so folks could enjoy things from home without having to come out. We were also actively involved in helping people sign up for COVID vaccinations and testing. We continue to be a trusted source to connect people with the most up-to-date COVID and health information. In 2021, during a pandemic, we loaned out over 350,000 books and materials. We saw over 155,000 visitors at our 6 open locations. We provided 33,340 public computer and Wi-Fi sessions. We hosted over 28,000 people at programs, activities, and events, most virtually, some of them outside. I hope some of you enjoyed some of the programs in the Bach Garden, but also in person. And we had over 16,000 views of our APL created videos on our YouTube channel. Some highlights from 2021. The big one was the increase in e-materials. Our wonderful collection management services department really pivoted quickly and shifted some of the materials budget into the virtual realm. So we added a service called Hoopla for streaming content that included both movies, TV shows, audiobooks, as well as other e-content materials. We boosted our Wi-Fi in the community by bringing free Wi-Fi to 3 Albany parks, and in partnership with the city at 4 Albany Housing Authority locations. And we are in the process of discussing expansion of both of these programs. What this taught us is that we want to continue meeting patrons where they are. We've discovered that virtual workshops and also book groups have worked really, really well in the virtual realm. Particularly book groups, there are people who would like to participate, but for whatever reason couldn't physically come into the library even before COVID. We've seen participation in book groups increase, which both staff and patrons have really enjoyed. We also have story times that are virtual that can be participated in from anywhere. We're also looking, again, as the weather improves, to expand our outdoor programs as well as take and make projects for at-home use. These have been popular and continue to be so. Despite the pandemic, we did our best to continue our service. We kept our doors opened. We provided a vast amount of curbside pickups. We had computer usage, books, programs available in the midst of constantly changing regulations and a surging, waning pandemic. It's been remarkable to me and impressive at how quickly our staff has pivoted to returning to service. What do we have planned for 2022? Most importantly, the return of in-person programs and open meeting rooms. We're thrilled to be bringing these in-person programs back. We sort of realized how much we've missed them as a library, and seeing, preparing for folks to come back has been wonderful. We had a large program at our Arbor Hill branch celebrating the Brothers Civil Rights Group, and that had 50 people there Thursday, and it was a wonderful community event. We have open meeting rooms at all of our locations that are currently open for use by library and community groups. We're also working to improve and renovate our locations for how they're used today. The branch improvement plan, I'm sure many of you remember, that was over 10 years ago. So we are looking at how our buildings are going to evolve. At our Bach branch, we have a brand new study room, and we reconfigured the computer area for adults that has recently opened. From what I understand, the brand new study room is very, very popular. At our Washington Avenue location, our large auditorium is in the process of being renovated to improve the AV setup and seating, and will hopefully add the ability to live stream meetings and performances. Project slightly delayed because of difficulty getting some of the equipment. This project is grant funded through the Department of Library Development and the New York State construction grants. And our Delaware branch will soon host a CDTA Drive car share electric vehicle, which can be rented right from the Delaware branch parking lot. And we're also very excited that our North Albany branch will be reopening hopefully soon. Will be a satellite branch, part of the school district's renovation of the former YMCA building into middle school. The library will have its own separate entrance, its own bathrooms for patrons and staff, happily a program room and a study room. We expect this location to open later this year. Our proposed 22-23 budget, our Board of Trustees unanimously approved our proposed budget. Our operating budget would be $7,372,000. This is an increase of 2.5% over the current year's total tax levy. This number is below the New York State tax cap, and it is the first time that the library has asked for an increase since 2018. And we, same as the school district, are dealing with rising costs for just about every part of our operation. This very modest budget increase plus more use of our fund balance will allow us to continue current services and operations. If our budget is approved by voters, the owner of a home assessed at $150,000 would pay an additional $5.98 in library taxes next year. As was mentioned by the school district, our budget vote is May 17th, same as theirs. We are very appreciative that the Albany City School District assists us with running our votes. The library budget vote Tuesday, May 17, same day as a school district vote. The polling locations are the same. Usually the library budget is on the other side of the school ballot. Information on our budget updated as needed, posted on the library's website, and the polling locations are available from the school district as well. Of course, if you come into any one of our locations or call and ask where your polling location is, we are of course more than happy to share that information with you. Also, as mentioned, we have 4 library trustee seats available and 10 candidates. We are very excited about the 10 candidates. Video from a forum that was held last night with the candidates is available on the library's YouTube site. They're all very well spoken. They're listed here. They're also on our website, and I believe shortly on our website there will be bios and statements from each of the candidates available. This is Melanie Metzger, our interim director. If you have any questions, you are more than welcome to reach out to Melanie. You are also more than welcome to reach out to me or Deanna or Rebecca. We're happy to answer any questions. And if anyone has any questions now, we are more than happy to answer them now.
And I do want to pop on really quick. This is Melanie Metzger. I apologize. The other meeting ended just as Mary started, so I let her run with it. I left you guys in very good hands with Mary and Rebecca and Deanna, though. So I do want to introduce myself. I am Melanie Metzger. I'm the interim director, and we appreciate all of your support. Thank you guys for everything that you've always provided us. So we really appreciate it.
Thank you, Melanie. And I did see Melanie at another meeting and learned that the library is back to masks on for everybody, vaccinated, unvaccinated.
That is correct. It was part of our continuation of services plan that we're operating under at the moment. We do have a board meeting that will be discussed at next Tuesday, the 10th. But this is what our current plan was that was decided upon by our board. So we did have to adhere to that for the time being, but it is coming up for discussion again within a week.
Any questions, folks? The library?
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, so now we're going to switch it over to the City of Albany Sustainability Advisory Committee representatives. And I think Daniel Kirk-Davidoff has a presentation for us tonight. Hi, Daniel.
I do. Hang on one second. Let me find it on my screen. Oh, got it. Okay, let's see. Are you seeing a slide presentation? Or am I sharing my, okay, I gotta get back to my, oh, come on, dang. Sorry, I have way too many windows open. Give me 30 seconds, we'll work it out. Shoot, I thought I was all teed up. I'm so sorry.
Maybe stop and start again. It just says you've started screen sharing. That's all you got.
Oh, wait, here we go. Cool. Is this it? Are you seeing it?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, sorry. Okay, there we go. Thanks, everyone. Apologize for sharing all my junk with you, but nothing too bad, I think. Okay. Yeah, so I'm Dan Kirk-Davidoff. I'm the head of the chair of the Sustainability Advisory Committee. Tina Lieberman, who's here as well, is the vice chair. And I think Jason West was talking about, he may be on as well. He is the city sustainability manager. And I'm just going to talk about a couple of initiatives that we've been working on recently, some out of many things that we're up to. Let's see, how much time do I have?
You're the last presentation, so take your time, Daniel.
Okay, but I don't want to. Okay. Okay, great. So the first order of business is the Clean Energy Communities Challenge. We've been working on this for a while. So this is a mechanism for where the NYSERDA, as a sort of an expression of state policy, is encouraging cities to get our act together in a number of ways relevant to climate, having to do with encouraging people to make use of resources that are available and supported by the state to solarize their electrical supply and electrify their heating and electrify their transportation, because the two-part solution to climate change is electrify everything and green the grid. Right? If we're generating all our electricity with renewable or zero carbon methods, and if we use only electricity to power our lives, then there's no more carbon emissions, and that's what we're aiming for over the next few decades. So, basically we get brownie points as a city, which contribute to getting us some potential grants if we sign up a bunch of people to do any of these following things. So one of them is to sign up for community solar, where essentially you replace the generation component of your electrical bill with a fee to a community solar site that will be building a large solar array somewhere out in not too far away from us here in Albany. Solarize Albany has will lead you to links where you can sign up for that. Alternatively, in terms of electrifying your heating and cooling, there's support available from NYSERDA in certain cases to switch from, especially from electric baseboard heat to heat pumps, which are a much more efficient way of heating your home than just resistance heating. And I can talk a little bit about that later on if people are curious about how that works. There's some support available also if you're, I believe, if you're converting from certainly from oil heat. I'm not sure how much support is available to convert from gas heat. Tina can correct me if I'm wrong about that. And finally, so essentially for any of these things, if we identify people who in the city who either signed up for community solar or signed up to electrify their heating in their homes or purchased an electric vehicle, then the city can add those number of signups up. And if we get to a certain threshold, then we can get some grants from this Clean Energy Community Program to continue our sustainability work. So we have been doing that. And we have, let's see, I believe, right. So when residents participate in these campaigns, we can get grants of up to $15,000 towards projects like this, putting charge stations out in the city, which would help further the goal of making it easy for people to switch to electric vehicles. And lots of other communities in the area are participating, including Guilderland, Bethlehem, New Scotland, Bern, Menands, and Colony. So that's that. I have much more details of that of those three components. So community solar and solar roofs, and signing up for clean heating and cooling with heat pumps and electric vehicles purchases. So that those are the three components of the clean energy community. So I'll leave that there and be happy to take questions on that at the end of the presentation. But next I'll talk a little bit more about the city's efforts to support composting in Albany. There's a lot of opportunities for this moving forward. There's some state law that supports the existence of compost facilities, because there are requirements that large sources like big, restaurants and food processors that generate large amounts of food waste are required to compost their food waste, and that means that they need to find a local place that can accept their food waste. And for example, there's the town of Bethlehem has a food waste processing composting center, and they're able to generate that makes some money for the city to accept food waste from organizations that are obliged to compost if there is a facility in the area, which there is. However, they're getting close to full. So if Albany could develop a location to do composting, then that would be a potential revenue source for the city as well, and certainly cheaper than continuing to dump in the landfill. What we're currently doing in the city, Albany is providing backyard composting. If you sign up, you can get a big plastic urn in which to compost your food scraps. We also do community composting, where if you the city will provide a nice little green indoor compost bucket, and if you like, you can take it yourself to either the Radix Center or the Tivoli Preserve, and there's a larger bin that you can dump it in, and it gets composted there. Or if you're willing to pay a modest amount, which amount I do not have in my head, but maybe Tina knows that, the city will pick that up. There's a person who goes around on an electric bicycle from Radix and picks up composting, compost from people's stoops and takes them off to Radix. And you can sign up for any of these three options at albanyrecycles.com. Composting is terrific for a whole number of reasons. There's a lot of carbon in your food waste, and if you bury that in a place where it doesn't have any oxygen, then anaerobic bacteria turn it into methane, which is a very powerful greenhouse gas. On the other hand, if it rots in an aerobic way where it's exposed to oxygen, then it mostly gets it gets processed all the way to CO2, which of course is greenhouse gas, but it was the same amount of greenhouse gas that was taken up by that food when the plants created the food. So that's a kind of full circle, zero impact way to get to have our food scraps go back to nature. Whereas if they're buried and inorganic, then they get converted to methane, and that is a pretty substantial contribution to greenhouse warming. And we get the benefit that if you do composting well, you get really good soil, which Radix is using to good purposes to support local gardening around the vegetable gardening and other kinds of gardening around the city. And the city, of course, needs lots of good soil to maintain our parks in good condition. So this is a great way for the city to be more sustainable in an important aspect of its existence. We also wanted to mention that the Tulip Festival is coming up. The tulips are looking gorgeous this year, and there's a whole extra region of tulips in Washington Park, so everyone should come check it out if they haven't already. They look really, really nice. And the Tulip Festival is this Saturday and Sunday from 11 to 4 in Washington Park. We'll have a nice big sustainable Albany tent and have lots more information about all the things I've discussed. And there'll be a whole bunch of other environmental organizations there right near the tulip beds. And we're going to have a couple of workshops on beekeeping and composting and going solar, and on impacts of climate change locally in the capital region. And if you, I'll make these slides available, and there's a link. But if you just Google Albany Tulip Festival, you'll also find that. So that's that. Those are the sort of that's the light touch of the slides. I have a couple of other things that I'll mention as just things that we've got going on that I personally am excited about. So we've been working for quite a while on a kind of combined effort towards building weatherization. So in order to reduce the carbon impact of the city as a whole, in the big picture and in the long run, we need to shift everyone off of gas and onto electric heating, and that electric heating needs to happen by heat pumps, so it's done sustainably and efficiently. It is a very bad way to heat your home to just dump electricity into a resistor in a baseboard and make heat that way. The right way is to use electricity to mechanically move heat from outside your house to inside your house. You can't do that with complete efficiency because of the second law of thermodynamics, which makes our life hard in all sorts of ways. But you can get about 3 times as much heat from the outside world into your house by pumping the heat into your house than just by using the electricity directly and dumping that into the house. So heating your house smartly is more efficient. And even though natural gas at the moment is still a cheaper raw source of energy than electricity, because of that factor of 2.5 to 3 advantage of using the electricity to move the heat from outside to inside the house, you can say your overall cost of heating a house is lower with a heat pump than with gas in most reasonable circumstances, with reasonable comparable levels of pricing for energy from gas versus energy from electricity. So at any rate, in order to get to that step, we need to, that all is going to work much better if our houses are reasonably tight, which means having adequate amounts of insulation and having adequate amounts of air sealing so that when the wind blows, it doesn't just like blow right through the house. You want to have a reasonable number of changes of air in your house every hour so that it doesn't get stifling. You don't have bad air quality. But you definitely don't want to feel a breeze in your house when it's cold. And there are a lot of houses in Albany where you can definitely feel a breeze, and we need to fix that. So we've been approaching this in a couple of different ways. There is a business in the city that accepts NYSERDA funding to go and weatherize houses, and there's a bunch more of those businesses in the larger area, but they're kind of maxed out. If you sign up to do that, it's going to take you a while to have it happen. And part of the issue there is that people just are, not enough people are aware, not enough young people thinking about what they want to do for jobs are aware of the rather large need for people to do that kind of work. So we need to figure out ways of introducing young people to the idea that you could, make a decent living doing weatherization and other energy insulation related work. And we need to familiarize homeowners and renters with the idea that there's stuff that you can do in your house that will make it more comfortable in the winter and save you money on your heating bills. So as a move in that direction, we've set up a volunteer corps that we trained about 25 young people at HVCC, which has this nice pressure house facility, and sent them out to weatherize about 12 houses last fall. And we'll do that again this fall, but we need to figure out ways to leverage that, to build on that, to make that a more efficient process and a more kind of viral and self-replicating process. So we are looking into ways of training people who, instead of doing all the work themselves, would help familiarize residents with ways to weatherize their own houses. And we are working with Historic Albany to include weatherization resources and weatherization training at their new tool library, which all of us are really excited about. And we've talked to the people who developed the South End Green Hub idea, which hopefully will get funded. And we've talked about providing resources there. And we're interested in talking to anyone who might be interested in working with us on that idea. So that's another idea that we've been working on. And I have a whole bunch of additional slides that kind of go into more details about why solar is a good idea and why heat pumps are a good idea and why EVs are a good idea. But I think that's probably enough of just me talking for now. So I'm going to stop and take any questions. And thank you very much for your interest.
Okay, thank you, Daniel. There was in the chat, it says, what is the carbon impact of manufacturing solar panels and batteries? and disposal of them when they are worn out. I love the idea of heat pumps and EVs, but nothing comes at no cost except the free compost bin.
Yeah, no, that's true. Nothing comes at zero cost, but the environmental impact of those things, solar panels and EV batteries, are orders of magnitude smaller than the things they replace. If you think about the mass of stuff that goes into a lithium battery, what you need to compare that to is the mass of oil and that needs to come out of the ground to power a car. And there's just no comparison. And oil and gas mining are also toxic ventures. And yeah, sure, lithium and battery components have some toxicity, and there are better ways and worse ways of dealing with them. But if you do the life cycle analysis and really compare end to end the kind of impacts, they're just not comparable. It's just a much better way to run our planet, and we're moving in that direction, and that's really fortunate. We've been very, very lucky with the way technology has developed over the last 30 years. The price of solar panels and wind power has come down by a factor of 10, much faster than anyone anticipated, including the most starry-eyed advocates 10 or 15 years ago. Price of lithium batteries similarly has come down just much faster than anyone expected. And that is reflective of the amount of work and the amount of land and the amount of all the sort of stuff that goes into those things. Those statements that that cheapness wouldn't be possible essentially if the impact weren't quite a bit smaller, order in terms of big orders of magnitude. Yeah, there's a hand up, Holly.
Hi. I got the impression from the first part of your presentation that the counts of people who sign up for solar and get heat pumps and have electric cars helps you towards something, getting more grant money. How does one register that you already have an electric car?
Yeah, that's send us an email and we will happily do that. So if you go, or you can go to our Facebook page, we have lots of flyers about this. I will send Zach the flyer that has links to each of these programs. And there's a deadline, there's a timing about it, right? Tina, I think these are things that have to have been purchased since,
I think it's like November 18th of 2021 was when we became officially able to count the numbers of electric vehicles leased or purchased in the city of Albany.
So
by city of Albany residents. Yeah, I believe only starting like November 18th was the date.
Okay. Yeah,
but I think
mine's too old also. But
I think we're pretty close, and we already did actually meet the numbers for community solar and for heat pumps and energy efficiency. And Jason has been, I think you're putting that grant money toward a purchase of an electric vehicle for the fleet and maybe some other things. I think maybe some for the Weatherize campaign.
Yeah, we're using the money to buy pool cars for city staff. So we got enough to buy most of a pair of them. So you should see some city-owned EVs driving around once we can get them. There's a backlog, so it's actually years. If we order them now, it's years before we see them. But we're working on it.
Oh, but still, we want to continue the campaign just because we reached that goal. We still want to really encourage people to sign up for community solar. We have it's a great deal. It's a great situation. You get 10% off your electricity bill. You're supporting community solar farms, and thanks to Solarize, they put out an RFP, and both companies that you can sign up with on solarizealbany.org's website, they will both give you a $200 gift card for signing up. It'll take a few months before you go live, and then you'll get your gift card and you'll start to see, and it's all on one bill. It's going to come on your national grid bill. So, nothing will change for you except you will see a 10% credit.
And the link for Solarize Albany is going to be on the flyer that you send to Zach.
Yep.
Yeah.
Super.
Yeah, so we really encourage people to sign up for that. And just for the energy efficiency, I put into the chat a place on our Sustainability Advisory Committee webpage. We put together a little questionnaire. We worked with the Affordable Housing Partnership of Albany for that, because they have the energy manager for the capital region. That's Kathleen Langton is there. And she, if someone qualifies, if you're at basically 80% of area median income or lower, you can qualify for some amazing subsidies for both energy efficiency and heat. And if you're at 120% or less, you can qualify for a fixed interest 3.49% loan from NYSERDA for energy efficiency work and heat pumps. And plus there are lots of rebates now on the heat pumps. So there's a lot to take advantage of, but don't buy heat pumps until you've done your energy efficiency work, because you don't want to, you want to first make sure you're using as little as possible and saving money that way. And you don't want, oversize your heat pumps or anything. And it's just a waste of money for you and more energy that you need to pay for and generate.
We got another hand up from the Kniffs, Karen and Joe.
Yep, this is Joe. So back in the day of Alive at 5, there was a tent set up down there where it was green energy, and you could sign up with them to get sustainable electricity, but it was at a higher cost. And so now what I'm hearing is that you can sign up for sustainable energy and it's at a 10% discount. Is that correct? Am I understanding this correctly?
That is correct. That's the difference between buying from what we call an ESCO, an energy service company, which is like a private company, and buying through, basically the state of New York is subsidizing the community solar for you.
So there is no reason not to do that. As a matter of fact, there's every reason to do that.
Correct. Yeah, I would do that before I originally signed up with an energy supply company and I was paying premium. I think I got a discount for 1 year and then it skyrocketed. So yes, if you have a contract with an energy supply company and you're paying more than you should be, you should be paying less than what you pay for National Grid. That's why we're encouraging everyone to sign up for community solar. We also encourage you to get your own solar panels. I mean, it's an investment, but you will save more over the long run because you'll be supplying a good chunk of your energy, if not all of it.
Thank you.
Any other questions or we're good? All right. Well, thank you very much, Daniel, Tina. Nice job. Good job. It's a very important topic for the future of our city, keeping it sustainable. Thank you. All right. I do want to go to Luke Rumsey at U Albany with an update for us tonight. Luke, thank you very much. Whenever you're ready.
Hey, everybody. I'll be very brief. Right now, we are wrapping up the school year. Our main graduation is May 14th. And so if you're in the area on Washington Avenue, traveling there or about on the morning of the 14th, which is a Saturday, you may see increased traffic on the campus. We'll have all of our graduates on the front lawn or the entry plaza right next to Collins Circle. And so that'll be a good day for us. And then beyond that, I just wanted to mention that we will be hosting the Serve Albany brunch. Pastor Hentrick with Serve Albany will be bringing Albany Police Department Chief Hawkins, Commissioner of Recreation and Youth Services, Jonathan Jones, and then Tracy Killar from the South End Children's Cafe to the campus on May 19th. And so that panel discussion will focus on employment opportunities, food security, and personal safety in the city of Albany around youth. And so if you are interested in attending, it's going to be on our downtown campus. It is free. It's open to the public. I'd be happy to send you the registration details. There will be some light food that will be provided. And again, that's going to be on the downtown campus on May 19th from 10 till noon. And so let me know if you're interested and I can pass along the invite. And that's it.
Okay.
Hey,
Thank
Luke,
you very much.
could you drop a link into the chat for that?
I don't have the link readily available. What I can do is I can put my email in the chat, and then if you can just send me your email, and I can provide the link that way. Does that work?
Sounds great.
Perfect.
Did Luke, did I see the Star Wars, the Death Star at the E-Tech building today?
Yes, yeah. So as you probably noticed on our social media feeds, that the sphere, which is you got to see firsthand, and many people in the room on our tour, we can put up a number of different things and make it look different ways. And so we had the Death Star as May 4th being used the Force, right? Star Wars Day. It was pretty cool. And so yes, check it out.
Yes. Okay, thank you, Luke. Maura, now you had something to bring up about trees, possible.
We don't need to belabor it now. I just wanted to mention to people that there has been some interest, especially on streets like Fairlawn, that have fewer trees, where there's a sense that people are interested in having trees, willing to do the work of watering and things like that, but are daunted by the expense of paying the city to put them in. So I just wanted to really, ask, off the top of your head, if you knew of any, community grants to do treeing. And also, I just wanted to kind of generally throw it out to people and see if anybody else was interested in, looking to get more trees on their street. So that might be something to, throw out from now and maybe look into over the month. But I just wanted to bring it up briefly anyway now.
All right. Just one thing to bring up, it was on the agenda. The African Heritage Parade 2022 is happening on June 18th at 11 o'clock. CANA did march in the parade, and I think it was 2019, and it hasn't happened the last 2 years. It's going to be June 18th. If anybody's interested, let me know. And we can. We got the new banners, so that would be fun to participate. Now that they're doing it again this year. Any other business, folks, to bring up?
Zach, I would like to mention what a great job you did coordinating the park cleanup at Westland Hills Park this past Saturday. It was very successful. You did a great job. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. There is another cleanup. It's going to be this Saturday with the Uptown Neighborhood Cooperative and Riverkeeper. That's going to be from 11 to 2 in the historic, near the historic Rap Road area in the Pine Bush. That's 11 to 2 this Saturday, if you're interested. So future meetings, folks, we have June 1st, Albany County Executive Dan McCoy. We have Holly Planels McKenna, Director of Community Engagement for the International Center of the Capital Region, and Marco Flagg, Program Manager for the Center of Law and Justice, to discuss the LEAD program. And then we break for July and August. And in September, September 7th, Jeannie Orr, Program Manager for Capital District Tobacco-Free Communities. And we also have Assembly members, Pat Fahey and John McDonald coming in September. So, all right. Well, if anybody doesn't have anything else, this meeting is
Zach, I have a
adjourned.
question. Zach, this is Joe. I have a question.
ahead,
When
Joe.
do you think we'll be in person again? Ever? I mean, I love Zoom meetings, but
The last meeting, I thought September would be a good goal to get back to the library. It sounds like the equipment to do hybrid, they're still working on it. So we're hopeful to have it in September, Joe. We're hopeful to. Obviously, if things keep ticking up with COVID, we'll have to revisit that, but.
Understood. Thank you.
Sure. All right, meeting's adjourned, everybody. Have a wonderful night. Thank you, presenters, and take care, stay well. We'll see you in a month, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you, Zach.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Thanks, Zach.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.